What's going on, guys? Welcome back to UnOrdinary Review and Discussion. This week we are talking about episode 276. Now, honestly, just another talking episode. We have definitely had, a good handful of those, and it's to be expected given recent events and circumstances within the story that have taken place. Honestly, this episode is pretty good, and it does set up a lot of great things to come, and also confirm some things that I'm pretty sure a lot of other fans of the series have been speculating ever since episode 266, I think. 268, and going forward. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into this review and discussion for the episode. So the episode just starts off with Layla waiting, assumedly at the entrance of this facility, at this lab and everything where she works at, waiting for pizza for everyone while thinking on Ornn's actions since her arrival. And we see a little bit of her backstory with her while reflecting on everything that Ornn has put her through since she came to this area. It reminds her of her abusive past with Nerissa, her mother. And we see Nerissa hitting her, similar to how we saw her hit Sarah way back when Sarah was back home during her suspension. And how it left her somewhat hollow, it seems. Now, she also mentions that she thought enduring this humiliation would help reunite Spectre as one. Initially, when I was reading this episode, I actually misread it as reuniting with Spectre. I was a little confused there, but what she really said was reuniting Spectre, because there has been talk of Spectre is really divided amongst its factions due to Ornn's activities as well. So that's really interesting to see. And going back, but we will touch on something else I want to talk about anyway. So moving forward. After she gets the pizza, Sarah wakes up after a bit, and John shows her that they're with Doc, Layla, and Caden. And Layla then tells Sarah that the assassination attempt will likely continue until the very end, and that if they want it to stop, they'll have to break the cycle and come up with a way to keep them safe until they can access their abilities. And then tells them to ask any questions they have about Spectre now. That they should ask them now. Now, this is really interesting because she brings up a really good point. Sarah is wanted to be dead, and last episode, Layla did say, someone in Spectre wants John dead now, too. That's not necessarily true. John isn't really a target anymore. He's not a threat. According to Terrence, he was a target for, a potential recruit, but like I said before, doesn't really add up with everything we've been told about Spectre and, Terrence's notes and everything. But regardless, now that John has interfered with Sarah's assassination attempt and everything else, I do think it is very likely that Atlas, or whatever his name's going to end up being, the assassin, will likely report back to Ornn, and John will definitely end up as a target for Spectre as well. So, before we get to hear anything about John and Sarah's questions that they ask Layla, we actually cut to Keon, which was a really big surprise. He's meeting up with a higher up at the Bureau of Authority in Loven. We don't get a name on the we don't get a name confirmation for this guy or anything, but the meeting does confirm, at least, it is directly said, technically we haven't seen a body and everything. Well, we've seen a body. Point is, the episode does confirm, it does flat out state Terrence is dead. He did drown in his prison cell. So yeah. Terrence is most likely 99% gone. He's just gone. Now, like I mentioned in my initial reaction, I didn't like Terrence. I didn't like how he ended up being handled. So I personally don't mind that he's gone. I do think it's kind of a waste, though, that he was just kind of, thrown aside like this. It's kind of, it's kind of foretelling that he was thrown aside by Ornn, the person who trusted him the most, and he was kind of, in a way, thrown aside by Uru. But anyway, Keon also then reports on what he was able to find out about Spectre. Now, we learn that Spectre is close to a decade old. Keon speculates that they're no more than a decade old. So, they have 3 major divisions led by Neil, Miranda, and Orin. And then Keon notes that these could just be placeholder names. I thought that was kind of strange because I thought that Terrence, above all people, probably would have known Orin's actual name. But honestly, considering how easily Orin was willing to throw Terrence aside, it makes sense that he also wouldn't know Orin's true name or nor his true intentions. But I still think it's possible that Orin might have been Terrence's actual biological father. Anyway, so he also notes that Spectre currently controls 3 territories in the country that the story takes place in, and we do get a map of what the country of UnOrdinary looks like, where everyone lives. We don't get a name or anything, but we do get to see a layout. I tried to locate a real-world country that it looks similar to. I couldn't find anything, though, but if you guys could, please let me know in the comments so I could look further into it. But I couldn't find anything close to what it looked like on a real-world map. But, so, I tried my best, but unfortunately failed. So, Keon then mentions that they've been monitoring upper-class citizens and using their stealth abilities to gather new tech from next-gen facilities. He then breaks down the 3 territories in terms of potential danger. Zone 1, which is the least threatening. Zone 2, the second most threatening. There was a medium threat, I think is how he put it. And then 3, where everyone is the highest threat. And it also suggests immediate surveillance of all the zones, especially Zone 3. Now, real quick, when I was reading it, I immediately just thought Zone 3 has to be where everyone else is located, because it's been said throughout the series that there is the highest concentration of high tiers and everyone within the area, especially at Wellston High in the country. And Sarah even does confirm that later in the episode when we cut back to Layla talking to them. Sarah confirms that they have the highest concentration of high tiers. So, after that, it does cut back to Layla's group, and she informs them that she works under Executive Neil, who sent Layla to investigate the imbalance between Spectre's divisions, and they were able to confirm Orin's gathering of high tiers behind their backs and is now controlling the most powerful faction of Spectre and slowly altering the organization's trajectory. So, yeah, Orin's gotten kind of power hungry. I mean, yeah, to be expected. But, regardless, this is a really interesting scene. And one thing I want to talk about in regards to Executive Neil. Now, I initially thought that I was holding on to the theory that Executive Neil, now that we have a placeholder name for him at least, I thought it was possible that he could be Sarah and Layla's father. We've never seen them directly, and we've been told that both of their parents are bad, and they're kind of just assholes. But we've actually only seen it from Narissa. We've never seen their father, so we don't know what he's capable of. But we do know that their father has connections to Next Gen, so it could make sense of how Executive Neil could be Sarah and Layla's dad, because he's connected with Spectre and he's trying to alter the trajectory, and he wants to make society better. If he really does, it would make sense that they would have an in at Next Gen facilities. And also, like I said back in the episode when Layla was talking to the 3 executives, Neil was the only one to defend Layla and try to reason with everyone else and bring up that they couldn't give up an asset like Serafina. Now, I think it is possible, though, now upon rereading and doing a little more research, I think it is very likely that Executive Neil isn't their father. Just because Layla is a lot higher in the organization than someone like Terrence was. At least on paper, it seems like that. And she said she works directly under Executive Neil. So I think it's possible. So I feel like Layla should know what Neil looks like. And I think, clearly Layla would recognize her own father. Now, if Layla has never seen Executive Neil's face, then who knows? Like, Uru could still do that reveal and everything. But I definitely do think, maybe this theory may have to go down the toilet, unfortunately. So that ramble over and done with. Executive Neil probably isn't their dad. So yeah, John asks how he could have done so, but like I said, Sarah points out that they are the highest concentration of high tiers in their area, confirming they are indeed Zone 3. But Zone 3 accounts, she brings up Wellston High, Wellston University, and she even brings up Agwin. Now, I think it's really possible that this could be a subtle hint to us going either to Agwin or reuniting with the Agwin group. Because, I mean, they were honestly really cool designs. And Uru doesn't, I hope Uru just doesn't waste, these cool designs. Like, I would love to see Broven again. I would love to see, Broven's ability. I want to see, Rain as a high tier. What's her passive, Uru? Anyway, but yeah, I think that, that could be a little teeny tiny hint that we're going to be seeing the Agwin, or we're either going to be going back to Agwin or seeing some Agwin students again. So Layla then mentions that they need to worry about themselves first and plans to keep them there until they're fully recovered and return them to Wellston. And she tells them that they cannot leave school grounds until either herself or Caden has contacted them, because if they want a chance at success, they're gonna need to follow through with Sarah's plan. It's still happening. Layla knows Sarah's plan. I'm pretty sure that means Layla is aware that Sarah is planning on stealing the recovery device. So it's still happening. We still don't know what it is. That could come when episode 277 releases, the details of the plan. But we know it's still happening. That's about it. So the chapter then begins to end off back with Keon as he reveals he was able to access that Sarah was a Spectre asset. And the Bureau man says that they're going to need something more tangible evidence than just Terrence's memories in order to implicate her. And Keon reveals that she was responsible for the assignment at the last Next Gen lab. Then the headman says that he will have Wellston's Bureau look into it, and also send scouts to the 3 territories before dropping the announcement to us, the audience, that Spectre is a terrorist organization. Ember's a terrorist organization, but they don't want to do anything about that because we know, we the audience know. Devil's advocate for Keon, I do still stand on this hill. I don't think that Keon is aware that Spectre is directly connected to the authorities. I don't think that Keon stands for any of that. But who knows? He does abuse children. He does do that. So I don't know. But anyone affiliated with them will be arrested. So yeah, our boys are our heroes are terrorists. So before we end off, let's talk about Uncle Doe yet again. Now, I mentioned before, Cassandra wants Headmaster Vaughn out as headmaster. She said by the time she's done with her investigation and everything, she will see to it that someone more fitting, is going to be in charge of Wellston. Understandable. Like, the authorities definitely have wanted Vaughn out of the picture for a while now. I still say that this stuff with Sarah could leave more credence and more, evidence to show that Vaughn isn't a good fit as headmaster, because he's got criminals as students now that he hasn't really done anything about. Though I don't think that Vaughn knows anything about Sarah being involved with Spectre. Regardless, so Uncle Doe could probably be the new headmaster at Wellston. But I am also thinking he could be one of the scouts sent to the 3 territories. He could be the scout sent to Territory 3. Because, assumably, considering how high Jane's level is, a 9.1 with Channel Master, he could be an incredibly strong person. And he could be sent to the area with the highest threat level, that being Wellston, or that being where everyone is. So, I don't know. Uru has been dropping so many things that just continue to add to the speculation who Uncle Joe is going to end up being and how he's actually going to be brought into the story. How he's going to end up in that office and how he's going to see how him and John are going to come face to face with each other. Uru keeps throwing major monkey wrenches, and it's honestly really confusing, and honestly I don't mind it whatsoever. So with that said, what do I give episode 276 of UnOrdinary? Honestly, considering everything in these drops and the inclusion of pizza, because pizza is king, this episode I would say gets a 8.6, level 8.6. It's a really good episode. We get that major drop at the end with, the authorities, kind of like, oh my gosh, things are getting serious, but also it's kind of like the authorities, Ember is a terrorist organization. The authorities themselves are a terrorist organization, but, it's corruption and everything. But things are getting a lot more complicated from all sides with our main characters, and it's gonna be a challenge from here on out, I can tell. So that's gonna be it for this review and discussion. Let me know what you guys thought down below in the comments, and yeah, I can't wait to read episode 277. So yeah, thank you so much, Uru, and as always, everyone, see you, Space Cowboy.